Tiffany is a young, talented, and beautiful interior designer with her own home renovations show on a leading home design channel. She has it all figured out when it comes to her career. The only thing that Tiffany does not have is a handsome beau at her side. And a random call from her ex asking to meet up gets her excited at the prospect of them getting back together. Although her best friend and show producer, Liz, disagrees. That does not deter Tiffany, as she goes to meet up with Hayden after work that night. After a minimally awkward reunion of the exes, Hayden asks Tiffany about work and life, and she only has stellar reviews for him. Everything is great with her, especially on the work front. But Hayden looks like he wants to disagree. He tells Tiffany that he will soon be joining her show as a second producer, because the channel's head, Tiffany's current and Hayden's former boss, informed him that the ratings of the show have been very low, and they need Hayden's input to spruce things up a bit. Though he's not supposed to say anything to her, considering their history with each other, Hayden wanted to extend her the courtesy. This news takes Tiffany by complete surprise, as she was not expecting anything like this. When she returns to the set and tells Liz about it, the woman can't believe it either. Meanwhile, it's showtime, and the family who own the house are on their way to be blown away by the changes Tiffany has made. But there is only one problem: the dining table is missing. Tiffany goes out in search of her carpenter Graham, but instead finds another guy named Brooks working in his place. Brooks is a charming fellow with a happy-go-lucky vibe, and his sunny disposition annoys Tiffany, who is on a time crunch. She demands that he gives her the dining table in time for the show, but it does not look like it will be done that soon. This stresses Tiffany out, and she explains to him how the table is not just the focal point of the house, but of her entire episode. Unfazed by her urgency, the man asks if she wants to help him get the work done, but his callous attitude is beyond Tiffany. But, luckily, the table gets done just in time for the homeowners to arrive. As Tiffany goes out to escort the couple in, a mishap happens inside the house, and the kitchen faucet breaks. Brooks, being the only person at the scene, rushes to do damage control. When no one comes to help him, Brooks takes off his shirt to stop the water flow. Meanwhile, Tiffany greets the couple, and the camera gets rolling. Tiffany brings them in, and much to everyone's surprise, they find a helpless and shirtless Brooks trying his best to save the kitchen from flooding. Poor Tiffany has no choice but to ask the couple to do another take for them, and it snowballs into a double figure. But alas, the day ends, and Tiffany manages to deliver another successful episode. While talking with Liz, Tiffany tells her about more of her ideas that seem to make her excited about her field of work. But sadly, they can never experiment so much with the show, because they are restricted by their sponsors in their approach. Just as he is heading out for the day, Brooks apologizes to Tiffany for the chaos caused earlier, but the woman knows it was not his fault. The next day, Tiffany and Liz arrive at the channel's office for a meeting with their boss. There, they run into their over-friendly competitors, who claim to be such huge fans of Tiffany, but Liz does not trust them. Later, at the meeting, Tiffany hears exactly what she has been dreading. The ratings of her show are low, and that means Hayden will be onboarding to help the rating go up. She is only glad that her show will not be cancelled, but there is more to it. Her boss wants the restoration project to include a lifestyle makeover segment in the show as well. Tiffany is hesitant about letting Hayden join the crew, but it is the need of the hour. If the show does not do well, the advertisers will not get on board with it, and the showrunners will suffer major losses. Her boss tells Tiffany how impressed she was with her comedic little gimmick with Brooks, and now she wants him on board for the first episode, as their makeover subject. Tiffany opposes this idea with all her might, but the boss's word is final. Brooks is relatable, looks like he could use a makeover, and talks back to Tiffany, which adds drama to the show. Kimberly seems excited by this idea, but Tiffany doesn't feel 100% okay with it. Regardless, she has to agree. Though Liz is not too happy about it either. She always thought Tiffany was someone who did not care about numbers and ratings, because it affected her creative process. But seeing what the situation is, Tiffany has to accept there is no other choice. Tiffany and Liz arrive at Brooks's house, and after waiting a while, they find him in his little workshop in the garage. Surprised to see them, Brooks wonders what they are there for, when Liz tells him that they want to work with him again. This does make the man happy, and as they get to discussing the details, Brooks finds out that there is more to the deal than he thought he knew. Liz tells him how they are changing the show's format, and now, along with home makeovers, they will also do life makeovers, and for that, Brooks is their first chosen client. The man says no the very next second, refusing to be paraded around like a little showboy. If they need a carpenter, he is the guy to come to, but anything else and he is out. Despite their best efforts to convince him, Tiffany and Liz return defeated. Tiffany tries to pitch a different idea to her boss, but to no avail. Brooks is what she wants. So Tiffany goes back to his house with an offer he can't refuse. She tells him that she will get him a shop of his own, with the lease paid for a year, if he agrees on doing the show. The two have a little back and forth for a while, until Brooks negotiates the deal with 2 years of paid lease on the shop, and a spot as the designated carpenter for the show. Liz agrees to his conditions, and the deal is done. Later that night, while Tiffany is hard at work, Hayden visits her with a peace offering. He apologizes to her for the way he broke up with her 2 years ago, saying that she deserved better. With all forgotten now, Tiffany has not been holding any grudges either. They clear out the air and make space for their professional relationship to flourish. Hayden suggests that while working on the project, they should set aside a few days after work where they get together for drinks and discuss ideas, and Tiffany agrees. The next day, Tiffany arrives with Liz and Hayden to inspect Brooks's house and to get the lay of the land before creating plans for the renovations. Tiffany and Hayden are both in awe of Brooks's house and its strong structure. Even most of the furniture in the room was made by Brooks from scratch. When Hayden gives Brooks the contract for the show, Brooks takes one look at it and asks Tiffany if he can trust her with it. She reassures him, and Brooks signs it right away. Further inspection of the house brings Tiffany to Brooks's room, and she is impressed with the woodwork he's done on the headrest and everywhere else. When the man asks her what her plans are for the house, Tiffany leaves him with a to-be-continued cliffhanger. At her office, Tiffany discusses the plans for the renovation with Hayden, and tells him that she only needs to spruce up a few things, because the house is pretty great in itself. Hayden reminds her that it's going to take a little more than some sprucing up for them to make an impact on the ratings. As her friend and someone who cares about her, Hayden tells Tiffany that everyone believes in her creative abilities, and that she needs to take a chance on herself and keep an eye on the ratings of the show. And that maybe, at the end of the day, she can show Brooks the potential in himself that he can't just see yet. On day one of shooting the show, Tiffany and Brooks get ready and rolling in front of the camera, but their interaction is nothing short of hilarious. Any idea that Tiffany has about changing something about the house, Brooks has a counter-argument ready for it. And it's not even like he's doing it on purpose. Their interactions turn out to be charming, despite their opposing ideas, and it makes for great TV. However, this does not sit well with Hayden, who thinks that maybe Tiffany should take charge and show Brooks who the boss is. Liz, however, thinks that Brooks's quirkiness and enthusiasm add a charming element to the show. But Hayden worries this kind of content may take away from their high-end audiences, and he asks Tiffany to take control. But as the day goes by, Brooks and his quirky remarks during the shoot keep Tiffany on the edge of the ledge, testing her patience with every out-of-place word that he says. While checking out what's in his fridge, Tiffany finds out the contents aren't enough to make a single dish. The entire day continues the same way, with Tiffany trying to be all business, and Brooks unknowingly adding a dash of his charisma into their interactions. Although it makes for some hilarious content, Tiffany surely disagrees. By the end of day one, Tiffany is exhausted, and could really use a creative meeting with Hayden. But the man suggests that she should try and talk to Brooks about cooperating with them. Something definitely seems to be cooking in Tiffany's head. So Tiffany takes his advice and, with a case of beer in hand, she goes to hang out with Brooks. Although Brooks had a fun day at work, Tiffany tells him that there seems to be a disconnect between them, and things will not work that way. Brooks thinks it's because she won't let him be himself on the camera, and she argues that she's trying to show him the potential he can't yet see in himself. That statement takes Brooks back to the past, because it isn't the first time he's heard it. He recounts how he wasn't always the way he is now. Once upon a time, he took bigger risks and took better care of himself, but then life took him in a different direction. When Tiffany asks more about it, he tells her that he first bought his house thinking that if he managed to fix it entirely, his life would also fix itself, but rarely does that ever happen. Turns out the woman he bought the house for, Gwen, was not the one for him. Brooks tells Tiffany to go with her gut instincts on the show, instead of trying to squeeze him into a certain blueprint of how it is supposed to be, and his words give Tiffany something to reflect upon. They are more alike than Tiffany thinks, Brooks says, with them being the small-town kid with big city dreams. It is comforting, in a way. He tells her that if she throws her hair up and grabs a hammer, he will listen to whatever suggestions she has got for him, and will try to tone down the cheekiness a little bit. The next day, Tiffany ventures into Brooks's closet for the next segment of the show. But much to her dismay, the options are not too flattering. They all scream small-town Carpenter man, and it is obvious that it requires some serious sprucing up. Later, after checking out the sponsor's wardrobe options for Brooks, Tiffany has no option but to take matters into her own hands. She takes Brooks out to a thrift store and selects a bunch of clothes that would suit his style. They have a lot of fun shopping with each other, and the entire segment is full of laughter and giggles. When Brooks finally sees the clothes Tiffany has selected for him, he is pleasantly surprised to find his new style. While Tiffany and Liz are happy with their work, Hayden is of the opposite opinion. He can't believe Tiffany went to a thrift store instead of using their current sponsor's clothing. He emphasizes how this can put the show in danger of losing sponsorships and their high-end viewership. But after some consideration, Tiffany asks Hayden to give her one day to see how it goes, and the man reluctantly agrees. That day, Brooks is on his best behavior, so much so that it takes Tiffany aback for a moment, and she ends up being the one messing up the take. Later, he comes up to Tiffany with the task of tearing down a wall with him, like she promised that night. He manages to goad Tiffany into it, and they get to work together. Brooks helps Tiffany get the process right, and the two get at tearing the wall down. As they get talking, he asks her about the last time she tore a wall down herself, and Tiffany laughed as she recalls how it was her dad who got her into the restoration business. The two share a sweet moment, enjoying each other's company as they work and make jokes. That night, Hayden and Tiffany catch up over drinks, and between the fun-filled conversations, Hayden admits that he has been keeping a close watch on Tiffany's show over the past few years since their breakup, as he was always rooting for her success. This makes Tiffany feel appreciated. Hayden also tells her that he was not approached by the channel to join her show, but when he found out that the ratings were dipping, he asked them to let him get on board so that he could be closer to Tiffany again. He lets her know that, despite all the other offers flooding in, he chose to come to that show for her. The next day, Tiffany and Brooks film a cooking segment, where she teaches him to make a simple yet healthy dish for when he wants to entertain family or on a date. Brooks' antics during the show make for entertaining content, and it's clear to everyone but Tiffany that Brooks has a little crush on her. Later, Hayden approaches Brooks and asks him to maybe play along a little, if he feels lost during the scene, just to help Tiffany look like the makeover genius, because she can use all the help she can get right now. This worries Brooks, and Hayden tells him that unless his episode is off the charts, restoration project might shut down, and that Brooks is their only hope. Since Tiffany isn't doing all that she can do, because she doesn't want to offend Brooks, Hayden wants Brooks to be more cooperative and help Tiffany achieve her full potential. But Brooks thinks that maybe Tiffany should do what she really wants to do, instead of following the script and being limited to the show's brand. While Hayden thinks that maybe so, right now what Tiffany needs is for this show to succeed, as her career is riding on it. And though Hayden is doing everything possible, because he cares for her, he asks Brooks to stop clowning around and help Tiffany the right way. Later in the day, Tiffany wishes her costume designer a happy birthday with a heartfelt gift, a quilt made out of the first dress that the woman helped Tiffany pick out for her show. This heartfelt gesture is not missed by Brooks, as he notices how much this show means to Tiffany. Another surprise, or rather, a shock, greets the team when Kimberly arrives at the scene, and she is not happy with how the episodes are turning out. She advises Tiffany to get more personal with Brooks and dig in deeper where it hurts. That is when Hayden tells her about Brooks's ex, Gwen, who was the reason why the man bought the house in the first place. Kimberly wants Tiffany to lean into that lead. When she leads, Tiffany feels betrayed by Hayden, since she told him that personal detail of Brooks's life and confidence. But Hayden tells her that he is only trying to save her show. Next up, Tiffany suggests that Brooks should get a little makeover for the show. A little trim, and that is it. At first, he is reluctant, but when he sees her disappointed face, he agrees to let her get her way. Tiffany hands him over to the hairdresser, and quirky Brooks gets a handsome makeover. When Tiffany sees him, she is impressed by how clean he looks now. She wonders, asking him why he bought a house this big and renovated it all by himself. Brooks tells her that the house just called to him. It had good bones. Tiffany wonders if he did it for Gwen, and Brooks admits that he did. At least at first. As he thinks about it more, Brooks confesses that he never truly let Gwen in, because he never thought he was good enough for her. By the time he realized what he was doing by pushing her away, it was too late for Gwen to come back into his life. Brooks felt trapped in this big house without someone to love, and it was easier not to care. Tiffany understands his story and asks him, what if life gave him a reason to care again? Would then he be ready to love himself? But Brooks does not have an answer for her just yet. Later that night, after the cameras shut off, Tiffany finds Brooks in his workshop. He is working on a garden wall that she renovated in one of her episodes. Tiffany is happy to know that Brooks has done his research. He then asks her if she would like to have dinner with him, and Tiffany agrees. Brooks can't cook, but he sure can grill, and Tiffany can't help but agree the man's got skills. At dinner, Brooks asks her about the thing between her and Hayden, and Tiffany tells him how Hayden was the one who found her and brought her on TV. And while Tiffany is glad for all that he did for her, she never really felt like their relationship was something that comforted her. She never felt at home with Hayden. Brooks asks her what she would like to do if she was not on this show, and Tiffany reveals how she'd like to open up her own restored furniture store, but she doesn't really have the guts to follow her dream. Brooks assures her that she can do whatever she puts her mind to, and she really should not be worried about people not liking the real Tiffany, because it is clear that they already do. His words make Tiffany feel seen. They head over to Brooks's workshop, where he shows her the table he created from the wood pieces they tore out of the wall the other day. While working on a new design, the two share a moment where they come close to each other, but they pull away awkwardly and part ways for the night. The next day, while going through the footage for the show, Liz compliments Tiffany and Brooks's chemistry. Something makes Tiffany wonder how Liz knew that her husband was the one. Liz tells her that she always enjoyed doing things with her husband when they were dating, and one day, she realized that she just couldn't enjoy doing anything without him. When Kimberly enters her office, she is excited and happy about the new footage they got of Brooks opening up to Tiffany, but there's still something missing. Kimberly wants there to be a grand moment when Brooks meets with Gwen, as the new man that he's become, and get closure. But Tiffany vehemently disagrees with this. However, Hayden promises Kimberly that he will get Gwen on board. It feels wrong to Tiffany to take advantage of Brooks like that, and she tells Hayden that she will find another way to get the ratings up. Now that it has been a whole week since the restoration project started, Tiffany is ready to show Brooks in the new and improved light. While getting ready for the cameras, Brooks sees the new art that Tiffany has added to his living room and appreciates her style. As the cameras start rolling, Tiffany introduces the new and improved Brooks to the audiences and then takes them through the house for a tour. Later that day, Liz comes up to Tiffany, wondering if she has another idea for the big ending for the episode, but Tiffany has nothing so far, though she is persistent on not invading Brooks's personal life any further by bringing his ex on the show. Liz expresses her concern about the show not feeling like theirs anymore, and Tiffany agrees. With too many changes, the authenticity of the show seems to have gotten lost in translation. On top of that, Liz breaks another bit of news to Tiffany. Turns out Kimberly was not that honest with them in the beginning. There is a competition between her show and another restoration show on the channel, and if one does not generate enough buzz, the channel will not mind dropping their show. This does come off as news to Tiffany. Another shocker awaits her when she asks around for Brooks and finds out that he is out with Hayden for the big Gwen reveal. Then we see how Hayden ambushes Brooks by bringing him to a cafe and introducing him to Gwen. Unprepared for this, Brooks feels a little hesitant and nervous, but he eventually opens up to Gwen and the two start with small talk, work, the weather, and the like. When he leaves after the take, Brooks is disappointed in Tiffany for ambushing him like that. But Tiffany explains how she was about to tell him, and this was not her plan. But Brooks is still disappointed in her. Tiffany explains that she was trying to help him, but the man does not need her help. He did not need her to doll him up for her own purpose. Tiffany feels offended by that, because before this, Brooks was holed up in his house, pretending to be someone who does not need anyone or anything, because he is too afraid to let someone in. Brooks counters her by showing her the mirror. He tells her how she is afraid to do those same things, and on top of that, she is too afraid to pursue what she loves, choosing to hide behind a person she does not even like. That night, Tiffany asks Liz if she has ever opened up to her in all the years that they have known each other. Liz does not agree, but she knows it is because Tiffany tries her best to be perfect in all situations. Although she has been noticing how Tiffany's been following her heart more, and that makes Liz happier than ever. A few comforting words and a hug from Liz do wonders for Tiffany's sad mood. Later, Tiffany meets up with Hayden and thanks him for all he has done for her. But despite all that, she does not think they should get back together. Hayden somewhat agrees to that. He asserts he did not mean to hurt Brooks by what he did, and Tiffany knows that he was just looking out for her. Meanwhile, Brooks admires the new changes around his house, feeling bittersweet about it. Tiffany, on the other hand, gets praised by her boss for an amazing episode. Now her show will be renewed for another season. While the news is amazing, Tiffany's reaction does not do justice to it. When Kimberly demands that the new season also has to have Brooks in it, Tiffany tells her about her alternate plan. Back in the lobby, Tiffany and Liz meet their competitors, who are waiting on the final word for their show. Tiffany puts their minds at ease by telling them that they can go ahead with their own show, because Tiffany and Liz are not going to do another season of Restoration Project. This makes the other couple excited, but what is next in store for Tiffany? Though Tiffany does not know it herself just yet, she is excited to find out. Afterwards, she visits Brooks, but the man does not open the door for her. She talks to him through the door, apologizing for what she did to him. She tells him that she quit her job because she does not want to do things the way they want her to, and now she might just take his advice and do what she loves. Before leaving, she slips a letter under his door, saying that she always keeps her promises. Inside the envelope, Brooks finds a set of keys and smiles to himself. A few days later, we see Tiffany arriving at a store where Brooks is hard at work. When he sees her, he tells her that he needs her help filling up the space in this huge store. He goes on to apologize to her for the things he said, and admits that she was right indeed. He had been hiding behind some pretty big walls, and Tiffany helped him realize that he wants more than just a big empty house for one. He then tells her about the new idea he had for a show, and that Liz is already pitching the concept to the channel. Tiffany wonders what Brooks said to them to get them on board, and he tells her that he only told them the truth. He is only one half of the creative whole. His words touch Tiffany deeply. She is happy to be on board with his plan, and she also has things to apologize for. She starts by telling him that he was right too, and telling her how she was afraid to follow what she loved. And then, as she is speaking, Brooks kisses her, sealing the deal forever.